Hello all, everybody. Hello. Let me pause the song. Okay. I hope everybody's having a great Saturday. Welcome to everybody who's on the stream now. And those of you who are on the stream, I'd appreciate if you could just put it on the chat that you can hear me loud and clear with an L and C. Great. Okay. Thank you all very much. So we'll carry on from here. So today we're going to talk about visibility. And I say this is one of the most important topic that a lot of the mid-level leaders just don't understand in the beginning, and they start to see something is missing because they've been in that role as a mid-career mid-level manager for 3 years 4 years, and they see some of the others that they were their peers starting to grow in their career and starting to see that they get promoted over them, and they're like, what's happening? What am I not doing that they are doing? Or what is it that they are doing that I don't know about? Because I don't know what to do, right? And I've seen that happen a lot. A lot of the clients that reach out to me on a one-on-one basis, they bring this problem with them. They're like, somebody who used to report to me has gone ahead and gotten promoted to be a senior leader, and I'm still stuck here. What am I not doing that I need to do? And it all boils down to one simple thing, and that is visibility. How do you create visibility for yourself? What is it that you can do to gain attention to the work that you're doing? It's not about gaining attention on you, it's about the value that you bring in, right? It's the value that you bring in that is more important than you. And if you're able to bring attention to that value, that makes a whole lot of difference. And that's what we will be talking about. Okay, we are 2 minutes past our schedule time. So, all of those who are on the stream, please let me know if you can hear me loud and clear on the chat. Hey, okay, great. I think we're doing good. Thank you all. Thank you very much for confirming. Really good to know. Okay, so shall we begin? So, we'll start with, of course, for those of you who don't know me, I have a YouTube channel. I'm streaming this live on YouTube channel and on LinkedIn. And that is, of course, Instagram. So if you don't know me, here's this QR code. You can scan and get to know me a little better about through my channels, and know who I am if you want to go through that way. But we'll get moving now. Yeah, so straight to some ground rules about this pod. Let me just move myself. Yeah, there you go. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Yeah, well, it's 2 hours with assuming that there'll be questions and then I'll be answering. I sometimes notice that in these streams there are so many questions that it goes beyond 2 hours. But then the talk that I'm going to give today's masterclass is very specific to about 45 minutes, maybe lesser. It's not going to be too long. And I'll encourage all of you to take notes, have a beginner's mindset, and please engage on chat as much as possible so that I know that I'm clear and there's no disturbance in my network or the stream. Stay positive and respectful during those discussion. Well, use Q&A. Don't mind this. Just if you have questions, just put it on the chat. And if there are questions, then I continue to answer. It could go beyond the 2 hour duration. I may ignore some question because I'm already covering them as part of the masterclass. Anyway, presentation style is going to be sort of like this pace, medium pace, and it's not going to be too fast. Highly recommend being on the PC or a laptop rather than on a phone. But then, yeah, it's up to you. Lastly, of course, have fun. Yeah, so let's move on. Quick background on myself. I've got 20 years of experience in the corporate, and as a senior leader, I was a director for a large fintech company. Done Marshall University MBA from USA, leadership and life coach, ICF certified, going to be certified for PCC. Almost there. I am also an AI generalist and consultant for MSMEs in and around Bangalore. I'm based out of Bangalore. So, moving on to the main point, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I wanted to give you some background on what uh, the reality is. Yeah. And why I'm doing this. I'm doing this and all of this, these, and there are many other master classes that I run, which is free of cost. I don't charge for it, right? Because I know how difficult it is being in the mid-level leadership. I spent, I think, about 3 to 4 years in mid-level leadership, and I didn't know what was causing the problem that I had to be stuck there because I've grown until that point. When I say mid-level, I was an assistant manager, I was a team leader and an assistant manager. Spent more than 4 years, and I couldn't figure out what I was doing wrong, that I couldn't grow from there. But there was a mentor that came up to me and basically gave me some ideas and tips on what's really happening. And everything changed for me. From there on, I grew into the director role pretty quickly. Some of the people who I used to report to, who were my managers, became, I became their manager. And that basically proved that I could do things. I what I did then was whatever I learned, I packaged it into a program, and that's what I'm doing now. I quit my corporate job because I enjoy doing this, and I want to help as many people as possible in their journey towards senior leadership roles. And there was this particular incident that happened that actually, uh, for me, sort of changed everything. So this was a few years back. We were on an offsite, leadership offsite, and there were quite a few big lead, senior leaders in that. We were discussing quarterly performance and what next for the following quarter. And in that, I noticed that, during one of the evening breaks, there were a bunch of leaders gathered around a table, sitting uh, on sofas, and they were laughing about something. I joined them, asked them what happened, and one of the directors said that, oh, they hired somebody, a manager in their department, for less than 50% of the budget. And they were happy about it. And they were talking about, how great this person is, but then got them for 50% of the budget. And budget, by the way, those of you who don't know, is basically the minimum range for a role, right? So you have a range of salary for a role, and budget would usually be right at the bottom, right? The minimum, bare minimum. And this director was able to get this new manager for 50% of the budget. So, and they were laughing about it, and for me that was hurtful. I was pained by that. I was so disappointed. And that moment, it was not just and discomfort, right? It was anger and sadness for both the new hire and the culture that was being celebrated. Unfortunately, when they were laughing, for me, I it was beyond me, right? It was one of those sparks that pushed me towards coaching and helping others recognize and assert their worth. Since then, I've committed myself to, coaching professionals, especially those who always know their value, and so they never shortchange the system or the mindset that benefit their own growth, right? So for me, that changed everything. I wanted to help undervalued leaders and wanted to help them grow into the great leadership potential that they are. And I realized in that journey that 79% of the professionals feel invisible at work. And I'm not saying this is a study based on Harvard Business Review. They done a study. They feel invisible, and I believe in India there was a study done by Michael Page, and they learned that it is much lesser. It's about 62%, sorry, more than 82% that feel invisible at work. And the fact is that the promotions go to those who are visible and not just capable, right? And unfortunately, most of these mid level leaders are stuck in their role for 5 to 7 years before they seek help. And believe me, there are a lot of leaders that I've helped, and most of them have said this one thing consistently. They come to me and say, I wish I had known you 2 years back or a few years back. I wish I'd spoken to you a few years back. I wish I'd sought your help a few years back. But then the fact is that time's already passed and there's nothing that you can do to get that time back, right? So that's really unfortunate. But let's move on. Like I said, that is, and if you don't know me, if you want to get to know me a little better, there is channels that you can get to know me. I would have liked to spend some time on the study done by Michael Page on the salaries, but then the fact is that ideally, most professionals are underpaid and extremely underpaid. Yeah, and that is a fact. And you can go look it up yourself. There are many studies that are done. Michael Page is one of them. If you go look, get into their website, if you're specifically in India, you have page called michaelpage.co.in. Go there, look for salary guide, and you will find a lot of information about that. I don't want to spend too much time on that, but and so we will move on. But know this: 95% of the people are underpaid in their jobs, not because you're not capable, simply because a lot of organization can just get away with it. They don't have to pay you because you don't know what your worth is, what your salary standards are more often than not. And you go by whatever is being offered. You are either too desperate to get a job, so you basically let the compensation bit go. So you're like, let me get my foot in the door. So you get the job no matter what the salary is. But then the problem is once you start off at that, you continue to go on in that trajectory, and that sort of keeps you down throughout the range, right? So let's move on to the main topic here. So first thing is, today we're going to discuss about what the disconnect is. Why is there a gap in the salary versus what you actually deserve, right? The role actually pays more, but you are not getting the full value of that role that you're doing, simply because there are a few things that we will, and that's what we're going to discuss today. So what are the reasons why you do not get paid what you're worth for the role that you're doing, right? So we will discuss that in detail. So we'll start with simple concept, right? So the first thing that I would like to talk about is the fact that, I hope you can see my screen clear. As per the study done by Harvard and Carnegie, right? Harvard, Carnegie, and Stanford, 85% of the job success comes from soft skills. So the iceberg that you see here, right? The 15% of it is actually hard skill, right? That's what is seen at the top of the iceberg. 85% of it is simply soft skill. Now, those of you who are able to resonate with this, give me a yes in the chat, right? So give me a yes in the chat. Thank you. Thank you so much, folks. Yeah. So that's how it is, right? Now, the other 15%, like I said, is hard skill. Hard skill is basically your core job skill that is required when you start off. Like, for example, if you're a developer, you're an engineer, a software engineer, you'll need to know how to code, right? So that's what gets you through. In the beginning, that will be 80, 85, 90% of your skills. But Once you start to grow in your first level, that proportion that is required for the job starts to shrink, it goes down. But by the time, say, you are a manager, mid-level leadership roles or mid-career, right, that goes drastically, where 85% of your promotion capabilities are based, promotion potential is based on soft skill. So I'm going to give you a link in the chat. Fortunately, I'm not able to put chat in. I don't know why. Let me see what's going on. Going into restream chat window. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Okay. So let me see. All you need to do is, if you want to make an assessment of your promotion readiness, I would encourage you to go into www.rakeshraveendran.com. This is my website. As soon as you land there, you will see that it will take you to a um, survey, right? It'll pop up for you. So if you want to make an assessment, run an assessment on how promotion ready you are, that's the place to go. Yeah. So let's move on. So yeah, so the soft skills. So what are these soft skills, right? Those are on the outset. Again, that is an iceberg in an iceberg in this. On the outset, it'll look like communication skills, your ability to lead, right? All of those other soft skills that you're known to, presentation skills, being able to stand up and talk to a crowd. All of that is something that is visible, but there is other things that aren't visible that actually holds you back. And I'm going to talk about those. Those are the important key factor that needs to be addressed, right? The first one, and I'll go through all of that in detail with the case studies very soon, right? Starting from next few slides. So the first one is fear of or self-limiting beliefs, right? So self-limiting beliefs would be something like, oh, I am not ready for the role yet, or I can't take on new responsibility or bigger responsibilities because I'm busy, or um, oh, I have a commitment somewhere else, or there's a wedding coming up in my family, so I cannot be focusing too much on work. So you sort of have those self sabotage beliefs, or you make up excuses that sort of sabotages your growth, right? So that's one. And then there's false expectations. False expectations would be where you expect something entirely different to what the reality is in your organization. Yeah. And if you ask me what those are, so examples would be like, oh, it's my manager's job to make sure that I grow in my career, or it's the company's job that to make sure, or it's their responsibility to make sure I grow in my career, and it is not, right? You are accountable for your own career growth. Nobody else is, right? So you expect that, oh, there is too much politics in the organization. It shouldn't be there. It's because of the politics that I'm not growing. Again, I don't think that's how it works. Politics is not going to go away. It's never going to go away. It's always going to be there. So, you expecting that there wouldn't be politics, or politics should go away, it's just not practical. Yeah, it just doesn't work like that. So, if you expect that to happen, you are in some, the Lulu land. It doesn't work like that. Um, and then there is lack of systems. So many of you are happy to go by what comes, right? Right place, right time. I'm just not lucky. That's why I'm not getting promoted, or you know, it's not my fault. Somebody else's fault. My colleagues, they butter up the boss, or they kiss ass, and that's why I'm not going to get promoted. That's the reason I'm not getting promoted. Those are all, again, that's you're relying on other things. What you really need is to have proper systems in place that helps you grow in your career, and I'll talk about a couple of them today. So if you are with me so far, just give me a thumbs up on the comments section, please. Yeah. Okay. Great, folks. And if there are any questions, please feel free to post that on the chat. Yeah. Any questions, it's career related, feel free to post that on the chat and I'll try and address all of those questions, like I said earlier as well. Yeah. So that's that. So let's move on. Yeah. So I will be talking about 6 gaps that cause careers stagnation in mid-level leaders. And we'll talk about what those are and how you can navigate it. I'll go to the navigation of how you can go about it a little later, but let me see if I can get this to work. Okay, so let's move forward. The first one of the biggest things that I've seen amongst many mid-career leaders that approach me is that you believe that your work will speak for itself. And it is in the culture, right? So a lot of us have been told from when we were in schools that, no, don't worry about the results. The results will show up as long as you put the effort and you're able to deliver you know what you're expected of, and everything else will speak for itself. Your promotion, your grades in school, it may work. You put the hard work, you get good scores, but then in real life, in when I say real life, and you grow up and you are working in a corporate environment, this does not hold true. Yeah, it doesn't work like that at all. You have to speak for your career growth. Nobody else is going to do that. Your work by itself is not going to do that, because very likely than not, there are at least there's one other person who is as good as you are, right? And you're competing with that person. Now, if that person is someone who's very good at marketing their value, you're going to go stay behind, and you don't want to be in that kind of a situation. Yeah. So I'll give you a real life example. Yeah, this is a right. I got to catch this, and there you go. Right. So Abhinav Mahant is one of the first few people who approached me for to be coached, and Abhinav was one of those folks. Right. He thought that work will speak for itself. Belief in meritocracy, right, and it is a fallacy, and therefore he would just simply just put his head down and continue to just work, right? Even if there is a small win, he would think that, oh, the boss knows, the manager knows, so it should be fine. But then you have to remember something. In a lot of the cases, your direct manager is not going to be the one who is going to get you promoted, right? There is a manager's manager, because maybe you are at the senior most level within the team. Now, if you want to grow your circle of influence with just your boss, direct manager, that's not going to help you in your career at all. So there is fear of conflict that Abhinav used to have. Like, I don't want to ruffle feathers, don't want to seem like I'm someone, who is always asking for something, right? Perfectionism over internal validation, right? Internal validation. Remember, I'm not saying external validation. You are so hell bent on getting everything perfect. If it isn't perfect, you don't want to talk about it. It doesn't matter. Even small wins matter. Yeah. And then you think recognition is something that you get from within the team is more than enough. As long as the boss knows, it's good. Right? My manager knows that I'm good. And you stay silent. Now, the thing with this approach is that it is not going to help you in long term. So Abhinav was one of those guys. After he started working with me, everything changed for him. I basically helped him change the whole strategy, right? I made sure that he built his visibility in such a way that everybody around him, including his manager's manager, saw the value that Abhinav was bringing on. Eventually, Abhinav got promoted twice within 2 years, right? And he got so confident in his job that he started his own digital marketing firm. right? He quit his job and became digital marketing firm. Now he earns a seven-figure monthly income. I'm not talking about turnover. It's profits plus his income, right? Seven figures. So that's what you want to approach at. And that's what confidence can do for you. So moving on, the second one is you are waiting to be perfect before you take action. Now, many organizations in your own team, I'm sure you would have noticed that there are times, right, when, hold on, let me put myself at the bottom. There are times when your manager might approach you and say, oh, we have a major high stakes project coming up, and there's going to be a lot of eyes on it. The COO or CEO is going to be watching this or keeping an eye on it. So I need someone from the team to volunteer. Many of you will never put your hand up because you are one worried that you are not ready yet, right? And that's the same thing that happened with Ananya, right? She's another one of my clients, basically. Um, Let me see if I can move. She's another one of my clients, and she was of the same thought, right? So she was consistently, she was always delivering results. Brilliant lady, by the way. Really, really good at what she was doing. It's just that she never had the confidence to take on the new things. His manager would approach her and ask her if she wanted to take on a new project, and she would simply say no to it because she thought that she couldn't do it, right? And that is the unfortunate bit. One second, folks. My video for some reason is not working.